Thank you all. Welcome to the National Clean Energy Workforce Alliance. Today we have a great discussion for you regarding the apprenticeships in clean energy. The apprenticeships in clean energy. Thank you all for joining. Next slide, Michelle. We can move along as others join in. Just to give you a little bit of information about the Interstate Renewable Energy Council. IREC is a national nonprofit working to remove barriers to the deployment of clean energy for all Americans. We do this work through state regulatory reform, local initiatives, such as our Soul Smart program, which helps communities around the U.S. accelerate their solar and wind workforce development. So thank you all for joining. For those who have not heard that from me previously, we are happy you're here to have this great conversation today. Next slide, Michelle. Today's webinar is brought to you by our partners at the National Council for Workforce Education and Bank of America. I am Janelle Hills, and I am joined today by Cynthia Finley, Richard Lawrence, Beck Long, Joel Shoemaker, Xavier Walters, and Corey Fabella. So thank you all. You will hear from those individuals later on today in the webinar. Next slide, please. Just to go ahead and answer some questions because they will come up in the webinar as they always do. As you know, listeners and attendees should be on mute until we get to the question answer section of the webinar. We'll address your questions in the discussion at the end of the webinar. And yes, a copy of this presentation and other follow-up resources will be provided to you. Next slide, please. Today's agenda will provide a brief introduction to the National Clean Energy Workforce Alliance, let you know about all of the work we're doing and when the webinars are happening. We'll also follow up with our panel on apprenticeships in clean energy, followed by discussion and questions. Next slide, please. Now, if you're on this webinar, you know, or you likely know that good workforce development does not happen by chance. In order to rapidly scale a diverse and sustainable clean energy workforce, we need to leverage best practices, resources, and strong partnerships. We work to continue to connect the dots in clean energy and workforce development more holistically, focusing on every aspect of workforce development, the landscape from a new learner to a worker, through recruitment, through employer engagement and development, and retention of employees. Next slide, please. The Alliance focuses on these 4 areas: training and credentialing, funding and program design, recruitment and support of workers and learners, so important, employer recruitment and retention. Not one of these areas are more important than the other. All of these areas are very important. So that's why we're here today, to continue to connect those dots. Next slide, please. We'll drop a link to this. The Alliance has a LinkedIn page that we share best practices and just stay connected about what's happening in the industry. You can also use this QR code that will take you to a place to sign up for the Alliance, as well as subscribing to the Alliance newsletter. Next slide, please, Michelle. Mark your calendars. These webinars happen every 3rd Thursday of each month. Every 3rd Thursday of each month, with the exception of April. No webinars in April because we understand that's a busy conference season. So we don't have webinars in April. Some of the 2024 topics, very exciting. The Weatherization Assistance Program, the Green Workforce Connect has launched and we will discuss that next month. And we're also looking to talk about clean energy policy and legislation, funding and leveraging resources, as well as DEIA resources. So a lot of exciting things coming up. Next slide, please. We will begin our discussion on registered apprenticeships in clean energy and introduction to the ACE network. And from here, I'll turn it over to Richard Lawrence.
All right, thank you. Hello, Richard Lawrence. We're going to talk about our new project called the Apprenticeships in Clean Energy Network, or the ACE network. Go ahead, next slide, thanks. So I am Richard Lawrence. I am a senior program director in our workforce at IREC. Been working in the industry a little over 20 years, all in education, workforce development, across different technologies and different organizations, from community colleges, nonprofits, certification bodies, and other organizations. Thanks. Next slide. I do have to put in our funding disclaimer. This project is funded by the U.S. Department of Labor's Employment and Training Administration. Won't read the whole thing, but basically we are funded by the government, and we do not represent the views of the government, and anything we say there can't be held against us, so to speak. Go ahead, and there's the link to the contract, Apprenticeships in Clean Energy Network. What is the Apprenticeships in Clean Energy Network? So we are funded or contracted as an industry intermediary, and our focus is on the clean energy industry. So what an industry intermediary does is helps people to understand what the apprenticeship system is, what the benefits of using apprenticeships are. So we do a lot of outreach and engagement in that area to raise awareness of these apprenticeship options and how to navigate the system. So webinars like the one you're attending today. We then also have technical assistance support. Again, this is all free, paid for by the Department of Labor, to assist with the development of new apprenticeship programs or joining of existing programs, making those connections and partnerships, ultimately leading to adding new apprentices in the clean energy industry, with a big focus on diversity and bringing in more underrepresented and underserved populations into the industry. We do also have some limited financial incentives available through this project to support employers or other sponsors with developing and managing apprenticeship programs. And also with that, though, we look at other financial resources that are out there that are available through the Workforce Innovation Opportunities Act, other state and local funding for workforce development. So we can help you understand what options might be available there and supplement that with a little bit of help directly from Department of Labor and our project. So if you're getting technical assistance with us, we're helping you with that process. Getting new apprentices registered, we can then give you a little incentives to help with that as well if needed. Next slide. So this is a network of organizations. IREC is the lead, but we work closely with a number of other organizations to address all of the topics of this contract with the outreach and engagement. Some of our key partners that you'll hear from today are our industry trade associations, where we work primarily in the solar and storage energy industry with SEIA, as well as the building performance industry with the Building Performance Association. So you'll be hearing from those two organizations today about those industries, what the job needs are, and how apprenticeships fit into the occupations that they have. Another trade association is Renewables Forward. They are kind of an association of other trade associations that are in the industry, and they're really focused on diversity and inclusion within the industry. Other partners we have are within educational networks, such as the CREATE Center, which is the National Science Foundation Center of Excellence for Renewable Energy Technological Education. We've got the National Association of Workforce Boards. This gets into the connection to those local workforce systems, being able to access, again, that funding stream that might be coming through those workforce boards. And also organizations with recruitment potential. We're partnered with the Service Year Alliance as one of the examples there to connect with people who job seekers and also through some pre-apprenticeship training opportunities to get them familiar with the industry and looking at options. Other educational network we have is the HBCU's Clean Energy Initiative. So connections to all the historically Black colleges and universities across the country to work with them to, again, recruitment, but also development and sponsorship of programs as well. So broad network that we can help in a variety of different areas and working directly in some specific states. I should mention Arkansas Advanced Energy Foundation, trying out a lot of these systems in Arkansas, have a lot of great success there across the board, and give examples that we can use and bring that to other states that we continue to work with. Go ahead, next slide. So start off just high level, what are apprenticeships? Apprenticeships are a time-tested tool, literally kind of beginning of any industry. You can look back and there probably were apprentices involved in learning that trade. This goes back just, historic back in time. Apprenticeship system is a way to train somebody in an occupation, basically some period of time under the supervision of a mentor who already knows that trade or craft. And it is generally driven by the employer. They are on the job learning opportunities, this earn while you learn model, where you're learning by doing, right? That's really the core of an apprenticeship program. And they are really just a workforce development tool, a proven effective tool using this model to develop a skilled, talented workforce. So if there is a workforce need in occupations that require, some specific knowledge and skill areas where you're not finding that talent pool in the broader market, the apprenticeship is a way that you can develop and build that talent within the industry. Go ahead, next slide. But specifically, a registered apprenticeship is an apprenticeship that is registered with either the U.S. Department of Labor or one of the approved state apprenticeship agencies. Roughly half the states operate their own recognized agency locally at the state level. About half the states just use the federal U.S. Office of Apprenticeships at the Department of Labor. But the registered apprenticeships, there's some federal regulations that help define this system that fits within the regulations here of developing a quality training program that's going to be recognized across an industry. And at the end of that, somebody that completes that program will earn a credential that's issued by the Department of Labor, recognizes them as a skilled practitioner in that occupation. Often, this is, in many ways, this is similar to a college degree. It's just that they're learning this in the field, mostly learning on the job with some related instruction in the classroom versus, the college degree is often the other way around. It's more you're learning primarily in the classroom, and then you might have some internship or some other field-based study just related to that. So it's in the same way they're studying a trade, or they're studying a field of study, and there's kind of similar. You'd have a similar program going through one type of college degree in one area versus another. If you're going into a biology degree or you're going into an engineering degree, we all sort of have an understanding of what that means. You're getting those core concepts in that training, during that college program, and then that prepares you for that career. An apprenticeship is the same way. While you are starting out in a job, it really is the start to a career in this industry. And those first, year, 2, 3, 4, 5 are where you're going to be learning that occupation and really preparing yourself for the next, the rest of your career in that field. And with that, they want to see with the apprenticeship system, it aligns across these standardized occupations. So that somebody learning to be, say, an electrician or even a salesperson or some other specific occupation, they're going to have similar experience. They're going to have a similar level of knowledge, whether they trained with, a company in California selling vacuum cleaners or a company in, Connecticut selling solar panels. There are going to be some kind of core competencies there that they can apply and customize to the employer's needs. But overall, you're going to be training that person in that occupation, no matter which company they're working for and where they are in the state. But it's going to have, kind of similar level of training. All right, next slide. So just go over real quick the key components of a registered apprenticeship system. First and foremost, they are industry-led. These occupations, it does start with the occupation that you're training somebody in. And that occupation is recognized across an industry. And so anyone training to that occupation needs to be aligned basically with that national standard for what somebody learning that trade or that craft should, that the industry has said, this is what we expect them to learn in this program. And then, anybody training to that, again, will have similar type of training. There's flexibility within this. Essentially, you have a national standard that says, here's the core competencies that we expect somebody to learn. But then that's able to be modified to meet the local employer needs. So it's driven at the industry level, trying to develop consensus and standardization across the industry. But again, allowing that flexibility for local implementation by the employer and maybe some variations by state there in terms of what they require in that area to do that work. They are paid jobs. An apprentice is an employee. They are working for an employer who pays them. The majority of the learning that they're doing is on the job with their employer, learning by doing under the supervision of a mentor, which we'll cover next here. But that is, they are trainees as well through this program, but they are employees doing productive work while they're learning. So next slide. So the key components here are that learning is done through a combination of this structured on-the-job process, again, over at least 1 year, and typically, 2 to 4 years, depending on the occupation. And that is supplemented with classroom instruction to cover the theory, to cover, the aspects of that task that they're learning or that knowledge base that they need to cover in more of a classroom setting. And then that's applied in the field, in doing the actual work that needs to be done by the employee. So, while they might have a generic kind of class on a topic, then you'd want to see that they're applying that topic, whatever that is. Let's say, something like blueprint reading, right? They might take a class in blueprint reading. They're going to study that. They're going to learn the symbols. They're going to learn the types of blueprints, all of that aspect. And then they're going to apply that in the field by actually reading blueprints for the job that they're working on, as an example there. So it's a combination of those two things. Again, the bulk of the learning's on the job with supplemented instruction. To be a registered program, it has to have at least 144 hours of this supplemental education for every year of on-the-job training. Go ahead, next slide. As we said, the apprenticeships are a really great way to attract a diverse set of candidates, partly because of the regulations that are there that make sure that those employers have the they're committed to equal opportunity employment, that they are committed to a harassment-free and safe working environment where there's non-discrimination in that hiring, but then also again, not maintaining a safe workplace. That is the regulations. The diversity is also, I'd say, increased just by the structure of the system where it is a paid on-the-job learning opportunity. That removes a lot of barriers to some of the other options for training where you have to put, where those prospective job candidates might have to put up a lot of funding themselves, complete training, and not sure that they're going to have that job opportunity. So it just removes a lot of that barriers where they're getting paid while doing that, while participating in the program. That's going to just, by that fact alone, open up opportunities to a wider, more diverse audience. And apprenticeships also, registered apprenticeships, do have to maintain a safe workplace environment. And Any of these job standards are going to have safety training as a core component of those standards that are going to have to be taught in that field. So that's going to vary, based on whatever the occupation is that they're learning. But all of those, safety is going to be looked at there to make sure that that's included in the training plans. All right, next slide. And finally, the apprenticeships do offer a nationally recognized credential. So this is issued by the Department of Labor. And again, in many ways, this is similar to a college degree. It says that this person completed this comprehensive multi-year training program in this occupation, and that it is going to be recognized, across the country, across that industry. During an apprenticeship program, they may include that program may incorporate other credentials as part of that too. So things often, some OSHA safety training, you may get those credentials in there while you're covering that safety aspect. Other industry-specific credentials, like those offered by the Building Performance Institute or the North American Board of Certified Energy Practitioners here, if it's in solar. Some of those could be incorporated into the apprenticeship program as well. But ultimately, at the end of it, they're going to get a credential issued by the DOL. All right, next slide. There are many benefits to both workers and employers through this. So employers definitely report, strong productivity out of their apprentices. While they're learning, they are still doing meaningful work. And they're able to progress in the type of work they can do potentially faster through a program like this because it's got a structure to it, so they know what types of work they're qualified to do and can move and then get into more different types of work as they progress. It is customizable, so it's definitely the employer has that ability to put in those courses that they want to see within that framework related to that trade. All right, next slide. A big aspect of that we see employers valuing in apprenticeships is the improved retention and that reduced turnover with that. The apprentice sees the commitment of their employer. They're providing this training to them. They've got a structured, supportive environment with a mentor helping them learn what they need to do. So it's a model that sets up for success for that employee. And long-term, even after they graduate the program, they know that employer is invested with them. And we see, well over 90% of apprentices remain with that employer following the completion of their training. As we said, great way to increase diversity. It can also be used for some regulatory compliance. So a lot of apprentice programs are a pathway to things like licensing. So, completing an approved apprenticeship program in an electrical trade or other construction trade, might lead into and meet those licensing requirements. It can also give access to some financial incentives and, again, the technical support that we have available through this program and other programs out there. State funding for workforce development often has options for apprenticeships. There's a lot of grants available out there that come around all the time that, again, are tied to apprenticeships. So having that structure, a lot of these funding streams are connecting into that. Go ahead, next slide. One of these regulatory requirements, I guess I'd say, that can be met through apprenticeships that's driving a lot of interest within the clean energy industry is the Inflation Reduction Act. So those of you familiar with it, the Inflation Reduction Act is really driving, and you'll hear more by our industry employers here, driving a lot of interest in apprenticeships. It's driving a lot of growth in these industries. Investments, literally billions of dollars are being invested through this act, and the apprenticeship is a requirement to get the vast majority of the incentives that come through the Inflation Reduction Act. Almost every section of the act refers to an apprenticeship and prevailing wage requirement that certainly is, it's on the large scale, 1 megawatt and up for any clean energy projects like the solar or wind or others like that. Could be energy storage as well, 1 megawatt and up. what this does is that tax credit might be an investment tax credit or it might be the production tax credit. There's a variety of different options there. But essentially, there's a base credit of looking at the Inflation Reduction Act, or sorry, the Investment Tax Act at ITC. The base is 6%. So an employer, somebody, or the project owner can get a base credit of 6% without meeting these requirements, but they can get 30% of the project cost paid for if they have apprentices on the job and are paying everybody prevailing wage. So 24% of the project costs literally hinge on having apprentices. This is a big financial driver for that, and the why we're having a lot of interest in this. It does also apply to energy efficiency through the commercial buildings deductions 179D. That's a little more complicated matrix of what types of measures and square footage and such with that, but it's relatively similar. It's again about you get 5 times the amount of credits available if you use apprentices than if you don't, essentially. Also applies to things like electric vehicle chargers, hydrogen refueling, and other technologies like that through the alternative fuel vehicle property, and a number of other sections there that the Inflation Reduction Act. So this is really driving a ton of interest in apprenticeships. Again, tends to be these larger projects though, and then the construction phase of those projects. So next slide. It is the requirements there real quick. 15% of the construction labor hours must be provided by an apprentice. Any contractor with at least 4 employees has to have at least 1 apprentice. Again, this is the construction phase there. This is limited to, it is the hands-on work, does not apply to the supervisors, kind of management of the program, or the professional or business related. So it's not the engineers and the human resources and accounting and all of that does not apply. It's really just that manual construction labor that it applies to. Ratio requirements do need to be met. That's typically a 1-to-1 apprentice to a journey person, and all the laborers and mechanics need to be paid prevailing wage. But the apprentices that are in the registered program, they're able to be paid wages that are less than the prevailing wage based on what's approved in that program. Go ahead, next slide. So again, this is manual labor on these larger scale projects, but we are hearing interest. The industry is growing all across the board, and really, apprenticeships are an effective way to build a workforce, whatever that occupation is. There's over 1,000 occupations that are recognized as apprenticeable. Again, we said from the salesperson, the system design, customer service, your project management, logistics, information technology. There's a lot of other areas where you can train people through apprenticeship program too. It's not just in the construction trades. Next slide. There's different ways to run a program, and kind of important point here with this group is it really is a network. The most successful programs are ones where there's partnerships. As we've seen, you do need to have that related instruction. So often, some type of educational institution comes in, whether that's a college or it might be a trade association or a labor union that provides, that's got a structure for delivering a lot of educational content, or a consortium of employers. There's a variety of ways that a program can be managed, and that's the sponsor. The sponsor is who is responsible for the management of the program, making sure the rules are followed, making sure the apprentices are reported to the Department of Labor when they join, when they complete. They have the rules of what the apprentice needs to complete, and they track that they're completing those hours in the field and completing that training requirements. But there's a lot of options for that. We definitely encourage working together in partnerships. But we're here to support. If an employer wants to go it alone, that's certainly an option as well. You can completely deliver and manage a program in-house. Some larger companies find that's works better for them. But many companies find, hey, let's just work with a trade union. They've got this figured out. They've been doing it for a long time. we want to make sure we're in compliance, and that's a great way to do it because they know how to do it right. So a variety of options. Again, at the network, we can help you explore what options might work best for you. And whether you're the education provider or that employer or a trade association or other group like this. So we can help all these organizations. Next slide. And so, there are steps. Again, we help navigate this process from starting with the occupation, figuring out which ones will work. You do have to, fit within that box to start with, identify that sponsor, develop that training plan, register the program, and find those places to recruit your apprentices and help you understand the reporting and record keeping process here as well. We're here for the long haul on this, and we want to make sure the programs are running properly too. So go ahead and next slide. And I think I'm done. Thank you.
Next slide, please. Hi, I'm Beck Long with SEIA, the Solar Energy Industries Association. I am thrilled to be here with you today. I have noticed a number of familiar names and familiar organizations in the chat and a number of ones that I'm not familiar with. So great to be seeing some of you who I know and a lot of you who I don't know are participating in the webinar today. Next slide, please. So SEIA, in case you're not familiar with the organization, we are the Solar Energy Industries Association. We are the national trade association for the solar and storage industries, working to build a strong solar industry to power America. We have over 1,200 member companies from across the spectrum, from those companies who are actually out building the projects and managing construction projects, from both small and very large companies working nationwide to companies working in the residential rooftop segment, those working on projects that are in more rural areas with hundreds of megawatts, so very large projects, right? We have project developers, we have manufacturers, we have service providers, and really just a wide range. Next slide, please. And SEIA, our vision for what we call the Solar Plus decade, which is the decade we are in right now, is that by the end of the decade, solar energy will make up 30% of all electricity generation. Next slide, please. And in order to do this, we have a number of priorities at SEIA. And one of these 5 priorities is that we are committed to growing a diverse workforce in our industry to meet the needs of our industry and to work to make sure that we have an industry workforce that really looks like the diversity of America in all different types of roles across the industry. And I'll note that we, right now, our industry is not at a point where we do look like the diversity of America. So we definitely have a lot of work to do. We're making some progress, but a lot more work to do. And we need a lot of the partners that are on this call to be working with us. Next slide. And this is just a slide showing the really enormous growth of the solar industry in terms of the cumulative installations in the country. And we're now at more than 161 gigawatts of solar capacity installed nationwide. You can just see starting it's probably too small to see, but the bottom starting at 2010, and here we are at 2023 today, how enormously, the growth has been. Next slide. And as of our latest statistics for the solar industry, had about 260,000 solar workers. And interestingly, less than half of all the new solar jobs required a bachelor's degree. So there are really a lot of opportunities for folks from all sorts of different backgrounds and interested in different types of career pathways in the solar and storage industries. Next slide, please. And I think a lot of folks when they think about solar, they think about generally the installation side, which is a huge, huge part of it, as you can see. But there are, everything from manufacturing and laboratory type of jobs to a number of jobs that are, office-based, or even, like my job, I'm working remote from my home, right? So there's lots of different opportunities in our industry. Next slide, please. And then this just to say that the largest share of jobs in our industry currently are on the installation and project development side, so about 2/3. But the next largest segment that I do want to mention is the manufacturing segment, which is 13%. And we do expect that to start really increasing and continue increasing throughout the decade, given some of the incentives for domestic manufacturing in the Inflation Reduction Act. Next slide, please. And then this is just a note that, and a lot of what I'll be talking about today are kind of focused on the construction type of roles for the apprenticeship programs. However, I want to note that really the whole range of positions in our industry, there is difficulty in finding qualified workers. Next slide, please. Great. And now I'm going to dive just a little bit into the Inflation Reduction Act. Richard did cover this, so I will breeze through this. Next slide. These are just some of the impacts after year one. So it's been now about 1.5 years since the Inflation Reduction Act passed, but at year one, there was over $100 billion in new private sector investments that had been made in clean energy, over just 1 year. Those, that's pretty impressive, as well as 51 solar manufacturing facilities had been announced or expanded, and 14 new standalone energy storage manufacturing facilities had been announced. And so, this is just continuing, and there's just a lot of growth right now. Next slide, please. And again, as Richard mentioned, the Inflation Reduction Act, in order to get that full value of the tax credits, for projects that are over 1 megawatt in size, projects must meet the prevailing wage and registered apprenticeship program requirements. And the result is really a huge surge of interest among solar and clean energy companies, really just interested in starting to explore registered apprenticeship, thinking about if they want to partner with organizations to meet the apprenticeship requirements, or thinking about if they want to launch their own program as a company, and just kind of thinking through those options. Next slide. And, given the Inflation Reduction Act, we are expecting 48% more solar deployment than we would have had otherwise without this legislation. And so, when we think about that in terms of our workforce, we will have to close to double in about a 10-year time frame, which is quite a goal, right? And in order to meet our industry's goals for deployment, we really have to ramp up our workforce. And again, mentioning particularly the manufacturing workforce is a particular area of growth as well, looking to about triple in size likely. Next slide, please. And next slide, going to dive into registered apprenticeships. And also, Richard covered similar information. I just want to add a little bit more context that, companies and organizations in the solar and storage industries are kind of thinking about the options available to them in the registered apprenticeship space. And, these are the same options that Richard had mentioned. So, some of the questions companies are asking is, thinking about what is the labor landscape of where their projects are located, what are other potential partners? Are there community colleges with strong programs in the area? So there's, lots of different options, from joint labor management sponsored programs to group sponsored programs that could be sponsored by an educational institution like a community college, or it could be a trade association or a community-based organization, or you could create your own program, which is that last option of employer sponsored. Next slide. Okay, so I want to talk about apprenticeable occupations in the solar industry, and this is not all appearing correctly as I'm looking at this slide. So there's a few occupations missing here, but we'll make sure that those get in the follow-up slides. But essentially, the U.S. Department of Labor has not approved any solar-specific occupations. What they have directed us to do as an industry is to utilize existing available apprenticeable occupations and modify them to make them work well for our industry. And so there are over 1,000 U.S. Department of Labor approved apprenticeable occupations that are approved nationwide. There are some differences, and some states may have programs approved only at the state level for an occupation, only approved at the state level. But for the purposes of this presentation, I'll be talking about nationwide, since you all are located across the country. And so if we're looking specifically at the construction trades here, you'll see that there's, what I guess I should say, what we are seeing is that the most frequently utilized occupations that whether it's an employer or another kind of partner or community-based organization that's offering an apprenticeship program, they tend to be in the two biggest common ones are construction craft laborer and electrician, typically that full kind of commercial electrician, typically that 4 to 5 year program. Construction craft laborer is typically more around a 2-year, can be a little more than that program. We have seen some operating engineers as well, and as well as carpenters. For the carpenter side, we've mostly seen that used through the labor unions, the carpenters labor, the UBC carpenters union. And then there are additional occupations in the construction realm that we've seen companies utilizing, again, whether it's their own sponsored program or whether it's in collaboration with a labor union, a trade association, a community college, etc. So there's all sorts of different types of electricians, line workers, substation, residential, and then the ones that got cut off here are iron worker, and that's kind of mostly in just a couple of states. And then a roofer for, let's say, larger commercial rooftop systems that might be a series of systems that could be over 1 megawatt, for example. And so I included these occupations here on this slide because these ones are ones that really might be applicable to the Inflation Reduction Act's apprenticeship requirements, since the laborers or mechanics, in the definition of the Inflation Reduction Act work, is that physical and manual labor. These are the types of occupations we are seeing being utilized in our industry. Next slide, please. And then an area of growth for our industry beyond construction occupations is that there are tons of occupations. As I mentioned, there's 1,000 nationally recognized approved apprenticeable occupations that can apply to our industry as a really great workforce development tool for attracting, training, and retaining a workforce. And so these are some of the ones that some companies of all sizes, not just larger ones. We're seeing even some smaller rooftop companies being interested in some of these, such as customer service representative or technical sales representative, for example. On the manufacturing side, there can be an interest in occupations like manufacturing technician, mechatronics technician, mechanical engineer. And as I mentioned, that a manufacturing space is a space of growth and where there's a lot of workforce needs in our industry. And other types of roles that are common to many sorts of companies, like human resources specialist, project manager, etc. Next slide. Oh, I will actually note just real quick. So again, just to be clarified, those occupations that were actually on the last slide previous to this are ones that are not really going to be relevant to meeting those Inflation Reduction Act apprenticeship requirements, but nonetheless could be very valuable for our industry. Okay, next slide. Great. Just wanted to let folks know about a couple of ways they could get engaged with us if they are interested. So SIA and IREC and the ACE network, the Apprenticeship and Clean Energy Network, we have been organizing what we're calling apprenticeship and workforce power hours in select cities across the country. We've done about 7 of them so far, where we invite our industry representatives to attend an event together with organizations that sponsor registered apprenticeship programs So that could be labor unions, it could be trade associations, and then also with organizations that run pre-apprenticeship or similar work-based learning type of training programs. They tend to be more localized. And then as well as organizations such as, ACE Network and some others would be at these events to help companies, if they're thinking about building their own employer-sponsored apprenticeship program, kind of what the steps could be as they're looking at that. Next slide, please. Great. And so then the next apprenticeship and workforce power hours we have coming up they're really alongside industry events, so that we already have our industry representatives in place, and then we invite kind of community partners to join us at these networking events to make these connections that we might not otherwise make. And so we've got one coming up in Atlanta, in Philadelphia, and in Southern California. So, what a number of you all here might be representing community-based or organizations or community colleges or other organizations that might be interested in getting involved in these. And I put my email here, and I think IREC will be sharing it too. So you can reach out to me if these are cities and or regions where you do work, and you might be interested in talking with us about getting involved in these activities. And then some broader workforce related discussions we're looking to have at a couple of other events in Houston as well as Chicago in May and November. So I know some of those are far off, but just because I know we have folks from across the country, if you are doing work in these areas and you're interested in connecting with us, feel free to reach out. As both of these, all of these would give you potential great access to industry companies who you could learn from about the needs in the industry and see if there might be partnership opportunities. Next slide. And then for SIA members, we have a couple of groups that are available for folks who are in the workforce development space and or in the apprenticeship management space or are exploring apprenticeship at their companies. And we invite any SIA member to consider joining these groups. And so I put, again, my information and the membership information if you're interested in joining these groups. Is a lot of peer-to-peer sharing goes on. So companies can share their best practices of what is kind of working for them in these spaces, as well as we bring partner organizations in. Next slide, please. Great. The final thing I want to mention here today is that we are working on national guideline standards, developing national guideline standards of apprenticeship for 7 occupations. This work is funded by the U.S. Department of Energy. It's led by IREC and the Midwest Renewable Energy Association, and SIA is collaborating primarily by getting our member companies involved. And the group is working to develop the first occupation right now, national guideline standards of apprenticeship for construction craft laborer, with the goal to really create an optional template. I want to emphasize it's completely optional. No one would have to use this template, but the idea is that it would have the work process schedule, so both the on-the-job learning and the related instruction that companies could utilize, could customize as needed, but could just kind of have a template that others in the industry are using something similar on, that they could more easily either create a new registered apprenticeship program or maybe update an existing apprenticeship program to make it more similar to other companies' programs, so that we can think through making sure that our programs as an industry are more or less similar to each other, and giving those workers that really well-rounded training that will help them in their career paths. And so once this, we will develop this over the next several months, and we will submit that to the Department of Labor. Once that is approved, we will be sharing that broadly, both SIA and IREC and MREA. So I believe that's all I had for you all. Again, thank you all for joining us for today, and don't hesitate to reach out. With that, I'll turn it over to Joel Shoemaker.
Thanks, Beck. I was just recently asked to join the panel, so I don't have slides to guide you through what I'm talking about, but I'll try to make it clear and succinct. As Beck mentioned, my name is Joel Shoemaker. I went through an apprenticeship program in Wisconsin number of years ago and am now a state licensed master electrician. And I have been teaching an electrical apprenticeship program for the last 18 years, as well as for most of that time also teaching renewable energy classes at Madison Area Technical College. So in Wisconsin, as Beck and Richard have mentioned, it's an example of where the apprenticeship program is a partnership between 3 different entities: the State Bureau of Apprenticeship Standards, the industry sponsors for the apprenticeship programs, and the technical colleges or community colleges. And that is both a challenge, right, to the apprenticeship programs to have those 3 partners try to work together, but also a strength in helping to make sure that the programs are balanced and well-rounded. Madison College, the college that I teach at, is a leader in the solar education. We have what is still the largest rooftop solar installation in the state. And we have also developed a hands-on lab where students, both apprentices and non-apprentices, work on full-scale working solar systems to get hands-on experience with what it takes to install these systems. In addition, the CREATE Center that Richard mentioned as one of the partners of the ACE network is a National Science Foundation funded national center that is housed here at Madison College or founded here, that is focused on helping community colleges to create or expand or improve their energy programs, specifically renewable energy. And we've been doing that for over a dozen years. For example, one of the things that we do are professional development trainings for community college teachers and high school teachers to give them hands-on experience with lessons and labs, including putting together a full-scale working solar system, so they can take that information, those lessons, those labs, back to their classes that they're teaching in a whole variety of areas, from renewable energy programs at community colleges to various science classes in high school and technical education classes. So we have found that our work in apprenticeship programs as well as in renewable energy have sort of been synergistic, have helped each other in developing trainings for students and helping to provide the workforce that our industry needs in our area. There's definitely more that we could do and would like to do. And we have, seen the results of this with our rooftop solar that was installed on our largest college building. Apprentices, as well as former apprentices that went through our program, were among those who were working on those systems. So I'll be happy to talk about my experience or my insights into that aspect in particular, right? The training associated with apprenticeship, as well as how that applies to the solar industry, if any have questions. And with that, I'll turn it over to whoever's next.
Thank you, Joel. Michelle, can you go to the next slide, please? Xavier, you're up. I guess Xavier is probably trying to come off. There he is.
You're on mute.
On camera. There you are. Thank you, Xavier.
Thank you, Dr. Hills. I appreciate you. Thanks everybody for being here today. Thank you so much for attending this webinar and our panelists. Lots of great information. Please feel free to drop some questions in the Q&A chat function, and we'd be happy to help answer them as best we can. My name is Xavier Walter. Just a little about me. I got into the residential energy efficiency business about 17 years ago, simply because I went broke and lost my career in banking during the housing collapse. And somebody came in and sealed and insulated my house, gave me a new heater, and I could finally afford to live there. And I was much more comfortable, and my kids didn't have to load the wood stove, and we got rid of a lot of our allergies. And I'm like, wow, I could really make a career out of that. So that's what kind of brought me here. I'm the director of outreach for the Building Performance Association. Next slide, please. We're the nonprofit industry association representing residential energy efficiency practitioners across the country. We communicate to about 28,000 people a week. We have a lot of our membership includes various types of stakeholders, from educational institutions, workers within low-income weatherization agencies, housing and urban development and healthy homes, as well as program implementers, and lots of other stakeholders from around the decision-making tree, so to speak. We're really focused on ground level activities and really helping people get to where they need to go and build capacity, fill gaps, and remove barriers for the growth of residential energy efficiency, and really help everybody understand the value and opportunity that we have here, just tapping in some of these wasted energy dollars across the country. Next slide. We're currently working in a lot of places. We have a great team that includes everybody from data analysts to program managers. We're working currently in Virginia, West Virginia, Maine, Kentucky, and probably about 5 or 6 other states actively to try to find out and identify what's on the ground currently, what assets exist, and what opportunities exist. And that may not just be within the residential energy efficiency ecosystem. That can also include community nonprofits and other thought leaders in various areas that can really influence opportunity and really help bring people to the table. And oftentimes we find that those people are valuable pieces of the equation to ensure success. We really want to try to map out what is out there across the country and what those needs are, and help people remove barriers and kind of fill the gaps where necessary. And we really place an emphasis on not trying to replicate or replace anything that's on the ground currently. We just want to lend value. So if there's somebody doing some great work, we don't feel like we need to come in and do that same type of thing. Our job is just to kind of lift up the good folks out there doing the actual work. Registered apprenticeship is a large, component of that work. We're also working on data needs assessments, TREC, IRA, and bipartisan infrastructure law implementation of various programs, including the $9 billion in homes and HERO rebates that are going to be trickling down to the states for homeowners to upgrade their existing energy appliances and insulation in their homes. We're working with the AmeriCorps Vista program and Service Year Alliance. We have a Vista on the ground in Maine that we piloted last year with really great success, and we're looking to duplicate that across the country. And really our primary focus under the Registered Apprenticeship is this energy specialist pathway. But with that being said, energy efficiency can be defined as anything in any work that's done in a house that can actually impact the use of natural resources in that home or building. So while we're focusing on energy specialists, energy auditors, and energy technicians, HVAC, plumbing, and electrical all kind of fall within those wheelhouses, and we're able to assist them as well. Next slide. Unlike previous federal investment where we tried, if many of you were around long enough to remember the American Recovery Reinvestment Act, where there was this large federal, infusion of money into workforce development in the clean energy sector, lots of that really fell short in some ways because it was just more of a let's get some butts in seats and get people trained up. We believe that registered apprenticeship is kind of a pathway to provide a career walk for folks, for somebody that can get into the job today and have a designated path in which to follow based off their needs and their desires. We really believe that this is a great opportunity for us to kind of get into some of these hard to reach communities of people that have not been served previously, or people that have been previously denied access to a lot of these federal investments over the last 20 years. So we really have this jobs first mentality where let's get somebody in a job because they can't really afford to sit in a class for, months on end trying to learn a skill when they may have a family at home to feed or other obligations. We really want to advance the understanding of energy efficiency throughout various careers to include this more holistic approach to the building as a system. Different things, if you interact with one piece of a home, that could adversely or beneficially impact another piece. So by educating folks on this house as a system or building as a system, it really can unlock opportunities that didn't exist before. Exposure at the high school and the K through 12 area. We're in this for the long game, and solving climate change is really going to take, understand the change of thought in generations. And so being able to provide some hands-on, exciting opportunities to younger people is really the future of where where this industry is going to be. So we're going to need these people, not just today and get people in jobs today, but we want to be able to help backfill the jobs of tomorrow as well. We really find this as a great opportunity to engage diverse populations. Without diversity and bringing all voices into this to the table at the ground level and making sure that we have this conversation in every meeting, we're not going to be successful. So making sure that we're engaging folks that may not have this access previously. If you're out in a rural area, or if you just have had too much on your plate, or your lived experience didn't provide you the opportunity to engage in this exciting new opportunity with all these billions and billions of dollars, you were left out. So we want to make sure that we pay specific attention to those people today with this opportunity. And a lot of times connecting with individuals is more than just providing training on how to seal a pipe or how to install a solar panel. A lot of times we need to attend to especially after the global pandemic, we really need to attend to the human as a whole. So some people may have transportation issues, or they may need childcare, or they may need boots for work. There's lots of people coming into this country from other places that previously that don't know what to expect when they go to their job site today. So we want to make sure that we prepare for that and use some of this federal investment to help solve some of those barriers as well. We talked a lot about IRA and IIJA funding and other sources of funding, DOL workforce dollars that exist in states. We want to make sure that we braid funds together from various sources, including weatherization assistance, technical assistance dollars, or their training dollars, or any local workforce agency dollars, or governor's guarantee grant programs. Or we can do a lot more with a larger pot of different funds, of diverse funds, to help make sure that we meet all of the various sectors. And the way we really do that is by getting on the ground, having conversations and meeting with people, and kind of bringing folks together that can braid these funding. And most importantly, last but not least, is wage progression. We need to show people that there's a pathway outside of the attic or outside of the crawl space, that you may just be carrying that panel today, but if through a learning process and through good on-the-job training, you can be designing that system later, or you can maybe go to the supply side, or you can go to the leadership side, or you can go out and start your own business. And the way that we get there is through hands-on training that is reimbursed to the contractors or the employers that are giving you that training and getting you paid for that training, as well as the opportunity for knowing that you can earn more as you progress. Next slide, please. There's a great report out there from E for the Future that can explain the energy efficiency jobs that exist in America today. 2 out of every 5 jobs in the energy sector revolve around energy efficiency. A lot of people don't even know that they're energy efficiency workers. So awareness is a big key here. We want to make sure that we utilize this opportunity to help mitigate climate change, which people, especially young people, are excited to do, and to take this passion and convert that into careers. The difference here with this opportunity is that this is exciting. This is a great career to be in. Many of the employers within this ecosystem understand the work-life balance, and there's lots of opportunities for folks that previously didn't exist in other industries or in other big, large investments. A lot of the infrastructure investments that we've had across the country, building bridges and things like that, may have seemed inaccessible and may not be as exciting to folks. But, I think that this, the green jobs revolution is exciting, and it is on the top of a lot of people's minds, and we should harness that excitement and help put it to applicable use. And at the end of the day, this is also an opportunity for us to solve this horrible labor crisis that we have across the country today. By getting people excited to wake up and go to work every day, that's the best thing you can do to retain an employee. And a lot of employers are saying that it's really hard to find somebody, or there's not enough workers out there. Nobody wants to work. We have to think differently than we may have 5 years ago as it relates to our worker, and treat them as an asset, not just another tool in the toolbox. And registered apprenticeship is a good pathway, a good way to do that. And it's a time-tested way, as Richard said in the beginning. This is something that unions and labor organizations have been using since, America was founded. And we can take some of those basic principles and kind of apply them to this new exciting market. Next slide. There's lots of careers. Again, as I said, anything that really touches the use of natural resources within a home or a building can be considered an energy efficiency career. We're focusing primarily on energy auditors, quality control inspectors, and technicians, because that's where the greatest need is at right now, and that's where we see a lot of opportunity. But from that is lots of doors that open. This may start with understanding of building science and maybe a building science principles class, but you can go down so many roads, whether that's residential, commercial, industrial. You could become an inspector, an admin position, a sales position, a contractor, or a technician. So there's lots of pathways outside of just this one narrow, instead of just one narrow career pathway. There's lots of doors that open up for us in these careers, for us to be thankful for, and for us to take advantage of, and maybe do something that works good with our lives and are the way that we want to progress in throughout time. Next slide, please. I mentioned earlier the TREC grants, the Training Residential Energy Contractors grants, and I'll talk briefly about the revolving loan fund and the grant fund. Both of these have workforce components to them. TREC is a primary, TREC is the only workforce training dollars in the Inflation Reduction Act, and it's specifically designed to train residential energy contractors. We're required, but to concentrate no less than 40% of those efforts to serve underserved populations. But I believe personally that number is low, and that we should use the vast majority of those dollars to specifically target the audiences that deserve it the most or haven't had access to it before. And this is really designed to train individuals to conduct energy audits and surveys of residential and commercial buildings for the purposes of the administration of the Homes Act, which is the upgrading the rebates for residential whole house residential energy efficiency rebates. If an energy auditor can prove that you're going to save X amount of dollars in a home, either modeled or measured, though that homeowner is eligible for a rebate, as well as electrification rebates that are available out there, making sure that we have the skilled technicians and the skilled people out there to be able to administer this $9 billion of rebates. There's a lot of opportunity for homeowners and businesses to pay as they save. So if I have this large bucket of wasted energy dollars over my head, And we can do a couple things, get a new HVAC, seal and insulate the building, and put some renewables in, and maybe plan for that electric vehicle, where there's an opportunity to fund those upgrades over a period of time and give people an opportunity to pay as they save. And states can use some of those funds to go towards training of energy auditors and other practitioners within the ecosystem. Next slide. The Energy Specialist Program can be customized, as Richard said, to meet the needs of folks on the ground. We have the opportunity. We have some boilerplate documents that we have used in some areas, and everybody's doing things a little bit different, including wage progression. But our goal is to help serve you on the ground, whether you're a community college, an employer, or another nonprofit association, or somebody that just has a group of deserving individuals that are looking for jobs. We want to help, bridge the gaps and make sure that we can connect you with the right people on the ground. And this has to be done state by state and almost county by county, because every place is different. The buckets of money are different, and every institution's needs are different. So what we don't want is people like kind of doing duplicate work or trying to reinvent the wheel or build new curriculum. There's plenty of nationwide assets out there that we can bring down to the ground. And then if the ground may have assets that we didn't know about until we get some folks together and kind of figure it out. Next slide. We're really focused on this energy specialist pathway. Previous programs, if there was energy efficiency programs in given states or utility programs, have really just focused on one credential or another. So what we like to see is this pathway of credentials to give people the opportunity to step up over a period of time, or when they prove their competency on written and field exams. We start out with building science principles. Everybody on this call has an opportunity to have a building science principles class. It's an easy class for a lot of people to teach. We have a free curriculum available at building-performance.org under our training library that you can take and use. And really that's the kind of the net and almost like a pre-apprenticeship activity for folks to kind of help educate people, whether if it's worst case, you only learn about the energy use in your own home, or if it's if you're really looking to get into that career, or if you're a student in another discipline, or if you're an administrative person or playing a different role in a business. It just gives, a really good overview. And then we can progress down the technician, the professional, and into the master columns through a really standardized approach that includes on-the-job training, mentorship, which is almost mandatory in this ecosystem, and the credentials can kind of build on each other, and people can get paid more as they progress through the path. And if they know about that ahead of time and they know that what their path looks like, then they'll be more inclined to A, join it and get on that path, and B, enjoy the path while they're on it. Next slide, please. There's a link to our Building Science Principles course. Again, this is a good dragnet. We're teaching it all over the country in several different languages to all kinds of audiences. It's really valuable, and basically it just kind of teaches people things that they may already know, but it gives it to them in a way that they may not have heard about it in the past, and really dives into how science pertains to homes and buildings, and how people really use and lose energy, and opportunities to building a home that's sustainable, and kind of just learning how their behaviors interact with the environment around them. So it's a really great class. I encourage everybody to pull it down. If you need anything, or if you're looking for somebody to come to your neck of the woods, we can find somebody for you. And again, it's a really great opportunity for people to pull it and even train the trainers or those kind of things. So next slide, please. We're really proud to be able to have somebody from the field. Corey is an apprentice down up in Maine. We've been doing a lot of work there for years. Maine is really leading the nation in a lot of these programs, and we've piloted a lot of things there. We're very thankful to their governor's office for helping us and enable a lot of this activity. So I'm anxious to hear Corey's story, and glad to be able to, have him here and present on what his experience has been as an apprentice on the ground. So Corey, if you could just go ahead and I'll click my video off and you can click your video on. Thank you, everybody. Again, reach out, Xavier Walter. Thanks for having me. Thanks so much.
Corey,
Yes,
you can, if you'll turn your camera on, you have a few minutes.
it
Thank
says
you.
you cannot start your video because the host has stopped.
I'm sorry, Corey, what was that?
Oh, there we go. It wouldn't let me do it there for a second. I
Oh,
have it all fixed now. My name is Corey Falabella. I work for Downey's Community Partners. I've worked here since February 28th, I believe it was my first day. So I've been in the apprenticeship for just under a year. I used to be a lobster fisherman. I've done that. I did that my whole entire life. And I needed to take a step back from that industry because of climate change and the effects of that, and regulations affected that business, that it wasn't sustainable anymore. So I figured I would take a chance with becoming a weatherization technician, and it progressed into becoming an energy auditor and now a quality control inspector. And I've been I was asked to be a part of the apprenticeship program, and my experience has been really, really good because I would have never probably been exposed to any of this stuff if it wasn't for the apprenticeship program. So but it has become a passion of mine. I didn't realize how much I enjoy to do it and how much knowledge there is out there with different fields. Like I say, I'm BPI certified, and the apprenticeship program has helped me achieve all of that stuff and help me pursue this career and prosper. But that has been my experience of the apprenticeship program.
great. Thank you so much, Corey. I'm so happy to have your voice on the call in this webinar to provide the organizations, employers, and all in attendance with information, a firsthand voice on why apprenticeship programs are so very important. You're getting kudos, Corey, in the chat. I don't know if you can see them, but they're coming in. They attendees are thanking you for sharing your story. So we only have about 9 minutes left. I know we have a lot of questions. We've had a great conversation. If you will go to your question answer function, or if not, there's some questions that Xavier has already answered in the question answer function. I'm just going to read through some of these and then quickly go to the 4 open questions that we have. I just want to provide awareness to what has already been answered. John Christian stated, are you working with labor unions in order to promote your initiative on clean energy? John, we absolutely are. If you have one you would like us, this is from Xavier. If you have one you would like us to talk to, just let us know. John also asks, can apprenticeship programs be established within a small business installing solar, batteries, and charging stations. Xavier answered, sure. Different states have various criteria, so check with your local options or you can call your local union shop. Caitlin asks, how would the IRA or IIJA benefits be made available to residential construction, which is composed of smaller companies and often does not use union labor? Xavier answered that one. Each state is designing its own pathways for IRA and IIJA workforce funding to benefit both union and non-union initiatives. Xavier, you are on a roll. Jenny posed a question. In the clean energy space, what are the percentages of program types? Joint labor management sponsor, group sponsor, employer sponsor currently. It is good to grow a diversity across all three types. Xavier responded, we would be happy to try and provide percentages with some research and agree that diversity is key. All of these efforts should specifically target previously underserved or disadvantaged populations to ensure they are equitable. Thank you, Xavier. Holly posed a question. Are there states that already have registered apprenticeships for residential installers? Richard responded, not surprised. He responded, solar installer is not recognized as an apprenticeable occupation nationally, but a couple of state apprenticeship agencies have approved solar installer. Florida's program includes solar, electric, solar thermal at all scales. Oregon has a limited renewable energy electrician program that covers small scale renewable energy systems, including solar. Tracy Wallace, glad you're here, Tracy, as usual. How much of the projected installation increase is commercial, residential, or utility scale? Beck responded, hi, Tracy, good to hear from you. The biggest projected increases are in the utility scale segment. There's also some projected growth commercial and industrial and in community solar. Residential segments varies quite a bit. So lots of questions. If you have not had an opportunity to read through the questions, they are under the answered function. I do want to go over to the open questions and let our panelists come off camera and provide answers to these questions that have not been answered because we only have 5 minutes left. So Greg stated, Oklahoma is designing apprenticeships in solar tech and wind turbine tech. I think we have several businesses that use apprenticeships in this area in Oklahoma. They need more, not necessarily a question, but a great statement, and it's a great flag for us to be able to have further conversations with you, Greg, to work with you in your state. How did you first find out about the registered apprenticeship, Corey? If you're still on the call, how did you first find out about the registered apprenticeship program?
Well, I applied for this job on Indeed, and when I was interviewed, they were able to take 3 apprentice on board underneath my supervisor, my now supervisor, and they asked me if I was interested in it, and I figured I'm getting paid to work and learn. It was kind of a no-brainer, so they offered me to try it. I tried it, and that's basically what happened, if that makes sense.
Makes perfect sense. So they had room for 3, and you were one of them, Corey. Congratulations.
Yeah, I took advantage of what was offered.
Absolutely. And I'm registered apprenticeships is something that is very near and dear to my heart because Corey is absolutely right. It does provide opportunities to individuals who may not have otherwise gotten the opportunity to establish a career path within their specialization. I'm just going to go back to the answered questions because we do have a few more minutes. Richard provided a link to the ACE network Jeff posed, CT does not have a construction craft laborer program. Is there an alternative? That's a great resource, Jeff. If you are able to capture that resource, it's there for you in the answered section of the question answer function. Let's see. Tracy Landry, I would like to get information on the network event on the apprenticeships. Richard responded with the link, same link. There's a lot of great information in the ACE network link. I'll read
actually real quick. Michelle, go to the next slide. I think it's got the link and our contact or something. There you go.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you so much. I'll read one more question. Are the utilities taking advantage of these programs and then giving their customers a break during times of high utility bills? Also, utilities are more and more getting into the installation, repair, and maintenance of electrical systems. How are they able to compete against small businesses? I think he meant compete when they are supposed to be regulated utilities. And Richard responded, utilities often utilize registered apprenticeships to train workers. So as you know, and as you can hear, registered apprenticeships are very, very important. And we are here to provide you with technical assistance to develop registered apprenticeship programs if you're interested in being a sponsor. As you can see, our information is up on the on your screen. I'm Janelle Hills. You can contact Richard Lawrence for or go to the link he has provided, but he has his email address there as well. Beck Long with SIA. Their email address is there as well, and Xavier's from BPA, and he has his email address there for you to see as well. Thank you all for attending this webinar. We hope to hear from you, and we hope you can join us next month, third Thursday of the month, to see the unveiling for some, the Green Workforce Connect platform, which is IREC's new workforce development strategy. It's a great resource, and I think a lot of you will find the resources. It's a great platform, and I think a lot of you will find the resources helpful to you. So we are thankful that you have joined us, and we look forward to you joining the next webinar. Thank you.